All right, before we get started, I just want to call out that since this video was filmed on Friday, the Biden administration has changed the guidance to now 49 miles per gallon fleet average across the fleet. The rest of the video remains the same, but I had to update that. Enjoy. All right, you've heard me talk about it before. Hair loss is something that affects a lot of guys, and it's something that a lot of guys don't act on until it's too late. But hair loss is both preventable and reversible if you get on top of it soon enough. And that's where today's video sponsor, Keeps, is here to help. Most guys start experiencing hair loss by the time they're 35. That's very young, and it's not a process that reverses itself. Now, would they like to keep their hair or regrow hair? Absolutely. And that's where Keeps is going to come in, and they're going to remove the hurdles that prevent most guys from treating the condition. Who likes the process of going to the doctor's office, the pharmacy, and standing in line for everything? Nobody. That's why Keeps, you can get good quality expert care without ever visiting the doctor's office or a pharmacy. All Keeps treatment plans are doctor recommended and delivered straight to your door for about half the cost of a traditional pharmacy. Keeps physicians are going to help you select the right products and treatments for your specific condition and hair goals so you can create a routine that works for you, because products that you don't use are pretty much worthless. Easily subscribe to Keeps and get refill reminders so you'll never run low on the products you need to take care of your hair. So hair loss stops with Keeps. To get a special offer on Keeps treatments, visit keeps.com/SSR. I put a link right below in the description. That's KEEPS.com/SSR. I put a link right below in the description. All right, so everybody knows that the car market is out of control, right? Cars are selling for significantly more than they should, and everybody's sort of sitting back and waiting for the bubble to pop. And it may end up only being a partial pop forever, if that makes sense. And I'll explain why. So the EPA has passed legislation or rules, or they instilled rules, whatever it is, that the average fleet mile per gallon for new cars as of 2026 is going to be 40 miles per gallon. Now, you understand what that means. If Chevy puts out cars, the average fleet mile per gallon has to be 40. Right? So if you have your Chevy Silverado 3500 that gets 12, they got to offset that with something that's getting 60. And I don't know the intricacies as to the volume, right? Can Lamborghini go make a car that gets 1,000 miles per gallon that they don't sell and then sell everything else that gets 5? I don't know. It's a good question. But what is probably going to end up happening, because that's a huge bump from where it is now at 24 across the range, that's a huge bump. And that's going to make it that cars, even like Corvettes and everything like that, are going to have to be more fuel efficient. Now, a lot of cars, they try to do this by throwing like 11 gears in the transmission. So you get a gear that you can only use on the highway, but it gets 50 miles per gallon as long as you're just cruising along the highway. It's good and bad, right? But this is 40 miles per gallon of real world driving. So that means when people start driving and testing them like Consumer Reports would do, even though you got your 70 mile per gallon gear of 11th gear in your car, you're never in that gear because you're driving around. Your average around town is 18. That's going to be a big problem. Now, why is that an issue? Well, that's going to force a lot more cars to become less fun. Now, we associate speed with fun, right? You're still going to have fast cars because electric cars can be really fast. They're just not the same. Right? You can give me the Model S Plaid all day long. I don't enjoy it. Like I drove one. I'm like, all right, cool. I don't have to drive that ever again. I drive a Tesla every day. Yeah, you know, whatever. Like it's nothing. It doesn't have any emotion attached to it. Cars have emotion. Now, a lot of people are like, well, there'll always be this or that. I don't think so. I think they're going to start. There's always going to be sports cars, but they're going to get significantly more expensive as they go along. And they're going to get more boring. They're going to go to hybrids. You even see as Ferrari went from naturally aspirated to turbocharged. Now it's going to go naturally aspirated to turbocharged to hybrid electric to potentially all electric. So yes, they're making gobs of power. Yes, the performance is there, but it's just not the same. Now, what does that mean? That means that's why there's a partial bubble, because these cars that are existing, that's all. Like we're looking at the end. The end is in sight right now of like, this is where we're at. And this is going to be the last of the fun cars. So you got to pick what's there and grab it. So this is where everybody with money starts hoarding the cars that they want, because there's not like the better variant that's going to come out in the future. Now, the other thing you have to think about is there's no sympathy for the minority, right? Like, come to the future, like, no, people don't feel bad for the rich people. So when the rest of the world is like, hey, we're getting 90 miles per gallon right now, you're still getting 6 or whatever, 20, 30, whatever it is. Nobody's going to feel bad about the sports car people. And because they're the minority, they're not the majority. Everyone's going to be like, that's selfish of you to do this. It's selfish of you to want that. And it's just the way of the world. You can't pretend like it's not going to happen. It happens every time in every scenario. And they may change the rules from 40 miles per gallon average, and that'll go up over time, but they may change the rules from 40 miles per gallon average to any new car that is produced needs to have a 40 mile per gallon average, 50 mile per gallon average by 2030, whatever it ends up being. So that means sports cars in their current form, where you can go get a car that sounds cool and drives fun and you feel the vibrations and all the stuff that makes a special car special, that non-car people will never understand. You try to explain it to them, and they're like, huh? You don't want that. Like, we as car people get an emotional response when driving certain cars in a certain way. You're not going to get that with an electric car. You're not going to get that with a 3-cylinder Corvette with 12 turbos and an electric assist. Like, that's just not going to be the same. And we're really staring at the end of what manufacturers are able to do and make fun. Whether that opens up the doors to smaller manufacturers that aren't regulated, like the Gordon Murrays of the world, where they're like, all right, or the Hennessy's, where we're going to make our own bespoke cars, but we're only making 100 of them a year, so we don't hit the threshold to become auto manufacturers. Or kit cars, or people are building their own like sports cars. It's just going to drive the prices up on what's existing, and then it's going to make everything else more expensive, because even making the cars with the higher fuel economy to continue to make your trucks and your Raptors and your Tomahawks and your Corvettes and your Ferraris and your Lamborghinis, it's got to be offset somewhere. They're spending all this additional money to ramp up the fuel economy and other stuff to keep this stuff fun, but we're really staring at the end of an era, really. So that, I think, is going to cause, I do think some models, like the Subaru that I sold, my wife's Ascent, off of lease. You remember the video? I made $11,000 selling it off lease, because the wholesale was $35 at the time. I just looked it up yesterday. The wholesale's down to $28 already. So that wholesale adjusted by almost 25% in the course of a couple of months since I sold it. It feels good. It's not a tremendous amount of money in the scope of the world, but it feels great to be able to get out of something at the peak, and I think I got out of it at the peak, which is great. But the car market, I honestly, like, I hate to say it, these NA cars that are sold out to the bejesus, and everyone's just, a lot of the market's propped up because people see cars are appreciating in value, so they just buy, and when the car comes in, they look to flip it, which is great, because there is now artificial order demand, right? There's people buying something as cars are appreciating, which they never do, so that ramps up prices artificially. As prices start to normalize and come down, Joe with his $10,000 deposit on his Lambo is going to walk away from it when he's got to register it, pay $25,000 to register it, and the thing's not selling for $25,000 over list. Now Joe's like, you know, give my $10,000 back. There's no money there. He's going to try to flip the spot. Lamborghini's not going to let him. Ferrari's not going to let him. Whoever it is, and you're going to see the prices start to come down, because now more availability will be opening up, because there's not that opportunity to be financially rewarded for just throwing your name on a list. And now that's going to start bringing the people that just wanted the cars to finally be able to get the cars. But as you see, there's a lot of variables, a lot of factors here to pay attention to, and I really do think that we're not going to be seeing as much of a correction as we think. I hate to say that, but all these, the NSXs, the Supras, the fun cars that we've always wanted, they're no more. And it's time to sort of buy them. And I'm not trying to like sell anything to you, but My forecast is that the market is not going to correct as much as it should. And as we start going on, we're going to realize that the looming miles per gallon mandate by the EPA is going to further affect the values of good cars. So we'll see. Time will tell. You can go back and revisit this video in a couple of years, and you'll be able to be like, Rob, you were so right. You're a visionary, or Rob, you're an idiot. Either way, I'm justifying my opinion and letting you know why I think that, and that's for you to decide. Post your comments below. Thank you for watching. Rob Ferretti. Go buy something fun for yourself. I'll see you tomorrow.